This is the Silt Verses Drowned Revelations Part 10. Quick recap. We have been mostly in the middle of Distortion Punks. We had a really action-packed session last time, and I think the group is ready to answer a question, put together some clues, and kind of see where that goes. And I've also introduced another assignment called Something Wonderful just outside of town. It just sounds like a nice circus interlude, a little circus, a little fun. And so that could be something to investigate. There's rumors of, people being drawn into it and children running away and supposedly negative effects of it, but we'll see. And I'm going to introduce another assignment here as well. We also had a stinger scene of Cousin Skelton hopping off of some covered truck and seeing these lights in the distance and what looked like a Ferris wheel and going towards that. So he might be showing up too. Let's see. The custodians have some conditions. Bastion has Herald of the Storm and Lost. Dr. Raymond Quick has Bad Barkskin, Miraculous Parasite, and Quack Treatment. And Zeph has 3 conditions: one of Mother's Children still, Outsider still, and now Distortion's cousin. And then it looks like Merriweather has Hazy and Distortion's Prince. So yeah, might want to keep that in mind, do something to clear those conditions. All that said, how do you all want to start off the session? Do you want to start by answering a question, or do any of you want to step away from this assignment and look into the next one?
Man, it feels like we should figure out how we're wrapping this up. Like I think we're probably all on the same page about the the camp and how we feel about them as people. But I think we should probably wrap it
You
up
kind of
before we
made
head
some
on.
pretty decisive moves, killing their leader. You're already heading
Yeah,
that direction. Yeah.
you know. So I mean,
That's
that's
fair.
my thoughts. What do y'all think?
Yeah, that feels about right to me too. It feels like we've got into kind of a climactic moment and it would be a great time to sort of resolve things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. And I saw your note in the chat, David. Got to watch your voice. So let us know if you have to go early. No worries at all. I also want to mention there's probably a lot of verses that haven't been narrated. I haven't been good about asking that, so I think we have a bit of a backlog. Does anyone want to start by narrating any verses from before?
Let me see if
You can always come back to it after a break if not. Stuff to keep in mind. All right, I will introduce this new assignment because we still have 2 active, and then I think we'll go to answer a question and go from there. So this new assignment is called the Miraculous Clinic of the Bleeding Witness. And you all have heard that there's a recent article in the Central Glottage Herald claiming that unsanctioned miracles are being performed in an abandoned rural hospital by followers of several false faith gods. The adjudicators have released a press statement ahead of any public outcry, while quietly dispatching the usual array of lying martyrs and propaganda saints to tie up any loose ends. But there's been continued pressure from hospital shareholders and increasing demands for a full investigation. That's what's brought this case to you. You've been given the necessary credentials to visit this clinic as inspectors. And if you, when you choose to go there, you'll be given access to tour the facility. This is a question for everyone. We're kind of doing this sort of meta out of character thing. By the time you're back on the road or you have a chance to look at this, we'll talk about it more. But in the beginning of the session, we're introducing it. For all custodians, what breakthrough medical advances and miraculous cures are rumored to be performed at the clinic? paste it in the chat as well. And I have a second question for our Cairn steward here, actually, which is, what makes you suspect that the clinic is turning its patients into immortal saints?
I feel like one of the breakthrough advances in miraculous cures is that they're claiming to be able to cure god-bitten people, to draw out what would cause someone to be a saint and bottle it, like to actually contain it somehow.
Hmm.
It's unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to go for the first one, which I think ties into the second question quite nicely. But I think one of the things that they are promising is the ability to reverse the aging process on people, so return their youth and vitality to them. And I think, sort of leading on from that, what makes me suspect that they're turning the patients into immortal saints is just the fact that there are surprisingly few deaths here for a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the only way of achieving that sort of immortality would be through sainthood, as obviously all people must die in the end.
Wow, this is already tying together so well. That's so interesting.
I think it's also rumored that the clinic is able to help people regrow lost limbs. I think there's occasionally a complication to that process where the limb ends up having a mind of its own, but chances of that are very slim.
There's actually a very revolutionary new procedure where someone can be made repellent with a capital R. So if you've got a family member who you're worried is going to be sacrificed or even just taken in by the police, it doesn't change anything about how they appear or how they speak or anything visible about them, but they become loathsome to other human beings and no one can stand to be in the same room as them. So, it makes life more difficult for them, but no one is ever going to want to come near them. Everyone just pretends they're not there and gets out of the room as quickly as possible once it's done.
Yeah, in the chat, absolutely. Yeah, we've met people who may have undergone this procedure. Great. Let me pause and take notes so I can go make up entire scenarios about your prompts there. That's amazing. Excellent. Well, you'll have the opportunity to pursue that in a bit, but first let's get back to the distortion punks here at Camp Hightuck, where this band has been imprisoned. This faith supremacist group, the Axles of the Leaves at Dawn, which is a producer for this drug called Laminar, which sort of pacifies sacrificial subjects. And there's strong ties to the government, as a producer for this drug. And yeah, conflict broke out here. Apparently, one of these band members has become a sort of avatar or a vessel for this other entity, the Distortion Prince, and kind of pulled in some of you into their orbit, it seems. But let's look at our list of clues and kind of start there, see what some initial theories might be. I'm assuming I should recap your approaches you can take here as well, because I'm assuming you are not siding with the ALD here. But your options here are your questions and opportunities. I should just say, is that what we're thinking, that complexity 8 question? So I don't recap them all. Okay, I figured. Why has the ALD grown too powerful to ignore? Complexity 8, resolve the assignment by destroying old Naughty, spelled Knotty, which is their sort of sacrificial tree god, and chasing out the ALD. You gain this move called the Great Relinquisher, which gives you even more bonuses for killing gods. So we have 10 clues. Just gonna read through them really quick to recap. Victims who OD on Laminar are transformed into the saints of a specific god. And our note says of peace, of sleep. You found a photocopied zine with the cover of Peyton Ashley, who was the leader of the ALD. Sort of this punk zine with a black box over her eyes. The text, false fucker, and the band name is False Fuck, that was imprisoned. You also heard sourceless reverb as if in a cloud in the room, your heart feeling smothered. There were pools of blood being washed from the stage at this camp. You found a beer bottle with a live bird trapped inside. This was at that tree. There was a page from a field notebook. So this was a clue that came up where there was a private investigator already on the scene insisting that there was no crime here, but they had also taken extensive notes on the custodian's activities. So a page from a field notebook with documentation about the camp. You also found tanks and equipment partially concealed, basically a meth lab producing laminar, although Zeph basically blew that up. There were 3 dead band members and 1 dead ALD member. I'm not sure how that is a clue or became a clue, but somehow we got there. If anyone remembers what that's about, let me know. Another clue was Old Naughty. The tree was sort of getting hungry and attempting to feed on ALD members. So Peyton Ashley and another soldier had sort of strange, organic looking like tree marks, almost like ivy or vines that have attached a brick, kind of eating at their skin. And another clue was a warm breeze filled with memories and deafening noise. And I think that was from the corpse that Bastion talked to.
I think
Or maybe it was something else.
the 3 dead band members and the 1 dead ALD member, I think, was from Bastion, like taking care of the dead. I'm like 50% sure.
Yeah, I think the bodies were outside the tool shed, if memory serves.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. And that, you don't know, that's the thing that the scenario just straight up tells me that I get to unveil at the right moment. But yeah, that's would be a pretty clear indication of why they're too powerful to ignore here. Yeah, any thoughts so far? How do we want to start putting these together?
I think to go for the obvious one there, that the victims who OD on Laminar are being transformed into saints of Old Naughty.
Yes.
It is the word.
Yeah, I think pretty much the main, at least the main theory I have about it being like, why are they too powerful to ignore, is that they're getting more concerned with feeding their god who has become too powerful than with serving the government that they're supposed to be serving. Like they're their own cult now, and they're producing laminar for their own means rather than to serve the rest of the world. Not that like it's a good thing to be making laminar at all, but I think we can justify torching these fuckers, I think, with because their god is too powerful. Like it getting hungry and feeding on the ALD themselves. Like the 3 dead band members and the 1 ALD member, like the fact that they probably killed the band members to sacrifice them, I'm assuming. Like that's a bridge too far, I think.
Yeah, that does feel pretty straightforward. And I mean, it makes sense if their sort of tree there, whether that's it's basically God itself, right? If that is, they're losing control over their sort of tree where they're making sacrifices. There was also, I didn't mention it. Oh, sorry, go ahead. There was that conspiracy clue, which isn't technically a clue for the assignment, but it it was something you found, which was a body that was almost becoming translucent, starting to levitate, that had just an IV that was being like pumped with this drug. So they were doing some experiments, clearly. What were you saying, David?
I was going to say as well, I wonder, probably tying together both the warm breeze with the memories of a deafening noise, and the sourceless reverb, if maybe, the false fuck had like worship some sort of god of disruption, distortion, noise, and Old Notty ate it, and that's what led to the
Interesting. Yeah, because there was a lot of environmental clues. There was a lot of that just manifestation in the landscape. That's really cool.
Yeah, I was going to say it makes perfect sense if Old Notty is somehow also a god of sound, because we've got this zine where Peyton Ashley might have actually been a band member at one time. So maybe she deliberately lured her old bandmates back to this concert, and it was only the fact that they had Distortion's prints to protect them that means they're still alive. That would then also explain why there was the beer bottle given to Old Notty with a bird trapped inside, because it's the bird's song that's feeding the god.
Oh my god, I
That's
love
cool.
that.
I love those images. Yeah.
That would make so much sense with everything they're doing and
What a
why
twist.
they've done all of this like specifically to this band. And this is
Mhm.
probably just their one sort of like this was Peyton Ashley's misstep in getting caught in their weird ring that they're sort of doing, this weird laminar making ring that they were getting overlooked, but now she's taken it one step too far with personal revenge.
So it's like personal revenge, like that kind of thing of getting rid of other people from your past. Her sort of seizing her own narrative there, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Would that tie into the pools of blood on the stage? I mean, that's pretty
Definitely.
obvious and dramatic. If that's how we were talking about band members being killed and revenge and such.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if the fact that we've got the this other law enforcement agent checking up on us is obviously a sign that the ALD still have backing from at least certain quarters in government, which is again why they're so dangerous, because there are still people who will go to bat for them.
I like that.
Yeah. John, that's so John. In the chat, you have a party boat outside your window with people yelling, "Living on a prayer."
It's very appropriate.
It really feels right. It feels that feels good. That feels right.
Yeah.
Oh my
Intrudes in the
God.
perfect way. Yeah, it all makes sense. I think that just leaves us the clue of the tanks and equipment. I mean, it's obviously they're making this. I guess what about that would show that they're too powerful? We're thinking it's just like that they're producing in volume, or
yeah, I was
something
going to
else.
say maybe they're sort of stepping up production or producing a more refined form or something.
Yeah, I
something
like that. The more
And
refined form thing.
we'd kind of
Also-
described their operation almost like a still, because Zeph
Mhm.
used that move with talking about the Saint Electric's
Mhm.
influence or how things were working. And so maybe they're making it more concentrated in some way.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
could
think
the laminar be more powerful because it's somehow tainted by Old Naughty's
Mm-hmm.
power? Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Because the effect of laminar that we've seen is that it sort of slows you down, right? It makes you more docile. Maybe it's
Yeah.
like if we were to see what was going on in the mind of someone who's under the effects of laminar, they would be thinking that they're, a single leaf on Old Naughty's branch, like
Yeah.
growing slowly, not having to do anything, just like sit there and be fed by Old Naughty and grow strong.
Oh, that's good.
That is so good.
Yeah, and we, tying back to just things that played out like context, when Zeph blew up those tanks, we sort of had this mist of Laminar starting to settle over the camp, and we had some narrowly avoided moments of being affected where you just felt, basically, apathetic, and that's a great way to tie the imagery in. That makes sense to me with the clues we've found. I mean, some of these have been pretty blunt, pretty straightforward clues for the situation. Who wants to roll it? Get +2 on the roll.
You know what? I actually think Dr. Quick should get to do it because he stabbed Peyton Ashley in the
He
throat.
committed to this course of action.
Like, you've committed to this course of action more than any of us.
Well, will someone take the other die so it can be a joint failure? We go down together.
Unless someone else wants to take the other dice, I will do it because I did sort of just hang you like out to dry right there.
You totally did, yeah.
All right. You ready?
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Oh,
I
got a 6.
Oh,
Oh, wow. Okay. Is that a 12 total?
yeah.
Wow. Good. I was just scrambling to find the move in the description, but I don't have to now. That's a solid full success.
Teamwork.
Yeah, I think, well, let's kind of map this out, and this will help me kind of remember where we left things. We had a lot of action sequences going on, but I think more or less we got you all back to the van, right? With Lucas, you have that moment to regroup. So maybe we can kind of talk through how this, because it's a 12, I think we can just do it in montage. That just means you've gathered information, you've already struck that blow. I think you have a big advantage here. Not to mention all that chaos through the camp. We've described various soldiers just kind of falling prey to, the Distortion Prince is running rampant. That might be part of your challenge here. But again, with the 12, you're going to be able to do it. So maybe if I could just get from each of you how, or talk it through, what this solution is going to look like, what part you'll be playing. And because it's a 12, I think I'm also going to be thinking about the conspiracy in the background here. Any first thoughts?
I think our goal is to destroy the tree, right? Like to destroy the god itself.
Right.
I'm just saying, I think you folks have wonderfully brought in the means to do that, right? Because we're not necessarily in any state to take out Old Naughty, but maybe a Kaiju fight between a loose god of distortion and this kind of tree monster uprooting itself is exactly what we need here. Maybe it's...
Oh my god, yes.
Just turn them on each other. That's interesting.
Just let them fight. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, is it as simple, quote unquote, as kind of trying to corral Distortion's prince toward Old Naughty?
I mean, I think you could, and with Elle's, like, not Elle's, Merriweather. It's not you. It's but with Merriweather's whole thing with I don't know your life, but you might be getting with some really cool punk gods, but I think with the fact that Merriweather has like been in contact with this god, it's I think very likely that corralling it towards Old Naughty and making them kaiju fight would be very within the realm of possibility.
Oh yeah. I love that solution. That sounds really, really interesting. And again, we've already got like some good foreshadowing of this, the way the landscapes, this has been manifesting in the landscape. I guess then what role do each of you want to play in this? How do we see this plan going?
I don't think I'm involved because I have just like limped out after
That's true.
having almost died. So yeah, I'm crawling very slowly back to the van in agonizing pain, and the rest of you can be the heroes.
I mean, I would pitch that again, John had the most amazing. The doctor was like super drugged and then was giving doctor like advice to this like dead patient. And I think if you wanted, it would be funny if you were still giving advice in that state or like precautions or whatever. You know,
Yeah,
you can still
absolutely. I am
contribute somehow.
giving this horribly wounded man advice on how best to treat his injuries as the chaos happens above me.
I love that. I love that so much. Oh my gosh. I don't know. I think Zeph's idea would be to corral a bunch of the ADL towards where this god fight's gonna happen so they get taken out with it to just sort of
Mhm.
like herd them. Because, I mean, frankly, they're still gonna be kind of a problem if they're around. So just sort of like corral them away from us. Or getaway driver. So we don't get caught in what is certainly going to be a devastating blow to the landscape.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just shoo him into the mincer, absolutely.
I'm also looking at some of the conditions here might again, we've established that you're succeeding, but I feel like just like fictional positioning wise, we have was it Herald of the Storm here? I'm looking back at the conditions. We have I feel like a few of your conditions
Too.
would almost work in your favor here. Yeah,
Yeah.
Herald of the Storm, Distortion's cousin, Distortion's prince. You're just very, as a group, you're very like keyed into this right now.
We stand Distortion's prince here.
Yeah. I think we see Bastion. He's got some sort of, hand cut from around the camp, and he's got the bodies of the dead members of Force Fuck in it, and he's kind of dragging the handcart along in one hand, still looking kind of a bit spacey at this point, and he's got the machete with reap and sow carved into the handles in the other. But as he's sort of like moving towards Old Nutty with this sort of lightning strikes are starting to come down around him, sort of vaporizing other trees around. And when he sort of reaches the sort of tree, sort of cuts away a few like branches that come from him, and he starts to dig into the earth around the tree roots and lay the bodies of the of Force Fuck around the base of Old Nutty.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I believe last we saw Merriweather, I think Distortion's Prince was using the singer of False Fuck as a sort of speaker, but some of the power was sort of surging through Merriweather too. So I think we see Merriweather sort of alongside the False Fuck vocalist, kind of as they surge through the camp, kind of riding the storm, and Merriweather is like very much operating almost like a speaker, like she's plugged into the system, and she's just like amplifying everything that's coming from the vocalist's mouth. And they sort of, I think as they're moving through and we're seeing, ALD members in the background probably grabbing their guns, we get a close up on one, and it's like the bass is like reverberating through his body so hard that it like pushes his eyeballs out of their sockets and like pops them. It's that kind of vibe. And that carnage just like sweeps through toward Old Naughty, where she'll converge with everyone else.
Wow. Yeah. I think there are also, again, with this atmosphere growing thick, there's static in the air, there's a gathering storm overhead. I think we start to see sort of lightning flash, and at some point, I'm just picturing lightning strikes happening with this tree, sort of incinerating it, but also if you see this from whatever safe distance, we described there being a lot of like offerings left in the sort of gnarls and knots of this tree, bodies being hung, things at the roots. And all of those, there's just like a glass jar that bursts. There's some, who knows what, some contained barrel of maybe lemon or maybe other liquid, just kind of boiling, things catching fire. So all these different parts of the tree lighting up from inside. And I think as these entities sort of collide, it's not as simple as a tree burning, but a tree sort of becoming just flooded with current and glowing like embers. Its bark becoming these sort of radiant scales and flaking off into the air, and twisting and withering, and a big chasm I think forms where, almost like a void. I think just maybe again, everyone can add to this if they would like after, but I think that collision of these powers, these opposing forces, creates a bit of a vacuum, and maybe the tree splits. There's a bit of a chasm underneath, and a void in the earth starts to suck some of this power downward. I have another detail to follow up with at the end, but is there anyone else want to continue to paint the scene here? Any last things we see in this montage as Lucas maybe is driving away from the scene? I don't know.
I think maybe if we're driving away from the scene, what you can see from afar does look like this beautiful storm, and you can hear music on the wind, the distortion that just, it's you can't parse it up close, but from far away it absolutely slaps. It's really good music.
Love that. So I have, if no one else has any other details, I have a conspiracy clue for you. Because of the 12, as you're driving away, you see, it's sort of like a forest fire where the wildlife is fleeing, and it almost reminds you of things we've seen hints of with the Dusk Mother. We see crows flee, a flock of them bursting from the canopy here, but they have a bit of a strange radiant glow to them. I think something's weird about their color. I think they're sort of, again, sort of just weaving together the themes of this assignment. They're smoky, they're black, but then they're kind of filled with this void light. They're kind of like flickering and flashing, like sort of lightning within a thick storm cloud. And somehow you get the sense that wildlife in the area has been affected by this collision of divine forces, and maybe other things that were already polluting the area. I think further on, as we get to you driving, you might catch a glimpse of a deer that is peeking at you from the edge of the road. And before it turns and dashes back into the trees, its antlers are almost glass-like and semi-translucent, and also faintly glowing, almost like neon. So something has seeped out into the landscape that was, maybe this had gone even further than you realized, with elements of the conspiracy. We'll see what that's about. So, I think I want to bring us, I assume you're driving. Actually, let me not interrupt any further. Let's just have the scene of you all. You're driving, you're getting away. I want to see how the custodians are doing, and then we'll move into journey scene.
Are we really letting Lucas drive? Because I think that's hilarious.
He's got to learn sometime.
It's now or never, Sometimes pressure makes people work better.
There's a lot going on. I feel like probably we all assume that another grown-up is driving, but none of us are really paying attention to who is actually doing it, right?
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah, I think Bastion is just kind of lying in like the back of the in the back of the van, just flat on his back, staring up at the ceiling, just utterly blissed out.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm covered in blood. Dr. Creature he's covered in blood of Peyton Ashley. He's just Zeph, just keep your eyes on the road, please. It's
What?
quite
I'm
hard to...
I'm not Are you okay? And now you realize he is like crouched beside you, not buckled in, obviously, and not driving. He is not the one driving.
Oh, Merriweather, you're driving quite badly.
Oh, it's lurching, bumping. You're hearing just like pine needles and branches scraping. At some point, it feels like the van is just sliding, and you all will hear from the front. Lucas says, like, so if there's no roads, like there's no driving laws, right? We're good. And you realize you're just like half sliding down a dirt road of just pine needles and lurching, bumping. It's
Sometimes you just have to make your own road. It's fine.
I think Merriweather's in the passenger seat and she's still like all hopped up from the energy of Distortion's Prince, and she's like turned the music up like way too loud. You can like barely hear what Zeph and Bastion are saying.
God.
And when we start like our little descent down this non-road, you just hear Merriweather go.
Yeah, and I think a sort of closing shot here, the van eventually does get towards the bottom of this hill, and there's just not quite a ditch, but some other hill, and you just like catch air, and you just like there's a moment where it's airborne. Storm in the background is just tearing through space for a moment, and somehow landing and continuing, and banged up as you are, you make it out in one piece.
That was awesome.
Another assignment
Lucas.
solved. Sorry, Elle.
Just Merriweather saying that was awesome, Lucas.
He's he's thrilled. He's just nonstop grin. Barely tall enough to drive this thing.
We'll get him paddle extenders.
Yeah. So before we go into the journey phase here, maybe we'll kind of set that up and we'll take a short break. But where do you want to go from here? The circus has been mentioned, although you have to find where that is. And of course, there's the clinic, and everyone's got some conditions to deal with. So hopefully you can take care of some of those on the way.
Yeah, I'm cool with going after either of those. I think the clinic sounds really interesting, but also the circus is quite fun. I wonder. Well, I mean, obviously, people can do whatever. I was wondering, but yeah, I think from my perspective, I think maybe it makes more sense to look for the circus now, and then maybe go on to the clinic. But yeah.
Yeah, that could work. Because the first question, jumping ahead for a second, is where is the circus currently located? And you do have a lead. It's this farmer whose child has run away to the circus. So that's an easy place to stop. Stop by at his farm and go from there. It's sort of a traveling circus is the idea. It sets up at night.
Very safe, I'm sure. Very child appropriate.
Seems to be your gig now. I mean.
Right? And Lucas is driving. I mean, hey, he might find it if no one's directing him.
Yeah, so you all want to go towards that together, it sounds like, at least initially.
Let's do it.
Cool. So a couple things. Let's see. Because I don't really care how this orders, but this is how I'm going to put the orders together. Because you solved Distortion Punks the way you did, you gain access to this move called the Great Relinquisher. I'll paste it in the chat, and I think it's relevant because you're starting a new assignment here. Whenever the custodians eliminate an angel, saint, or god, their bloodlust for deities will allow them to discover one divinity-related clue immediately at the opening of their next assignment. So, yeah, I'll leave that open-ended. I guess the new assignment is the clinic, but you're kind of starting off both, really. So, if anyone has any cool ideas for that, this would be a great time to think about that. And then I'm going to bring up the journey scene to give you some prompts, and then I think we'll take a break so you can think about them for a moment. Let's see this. Yeah, I'm just doubling down on our theme here. We've seen the wire-bitten child a couple times, but now we have one more scene along the way. Whether this is sort of backtracking or coming across this further extension of this, what was it? I lost the prompt. I'm forgetting the word. It's high-speed internet, basically, cables that are being installed. And I will paste this for you. I'll read it, and then we can think about it and come back. The terminal installation. You've seen these poles of sacrifices being put up, and sparks and cables and gruesome scenes. The terminal installation is nearly complete. A bulbous node bristling with wires and antenna like a monstrous sea urchin mounted on a radio tower. Clusters of telephone poles stand in concentric rings, a barren grove bearing the weight of parasitic cables outward in all directions. A drone of crackling lungs and rasping throats fills the air as hundreds of undying voices praise the new signal, the unmatched speed of the wire-bitten child. The question for all of you is, how does the landscape and its inhabitants react to this vast new organism of industry? And I think, yeah, there's also a recall a time prompt. It's optional, but just to give you roleplay prompts when you come back. It is, when did you realize after the fact that you had been used or manipulated to serve a greater scheme? So let's take 5. You can think about those prompts, think about your journey moves if you want to have scenes with each other, clear some conditions. And also, if you have any ideas for a clue you want to discover along the way about an assignment, that's optional. But I'll see you all in 5. All right. So we are back in the journey phase, and we have our prompts for the wire-bitten child, which just keeps getting worse, but now you're seeing sort of the culmination of this weird power node of this structure looming over the landscape. And I want to hear your prompts, and then from there, feel free to make journey scenes with each other, clear conditions. Whoever wants to jump in with those prompts.
I think the landscape reacts it's very subtle and you can feel it from far away, but you know that feeling right before a storm, right before lightning strikes, where everything smells a little like ozone and it's a little prickly? Like that is coming up from the ground, almost in pulses.
I think we hear strange like echoes of voices as well from around just like from weird places. But I think the effect we see that having on sort of the people around here is people keep like mishearing things other people are saying or thinking someone said something they haven't, and we see kind of as sort of frustrations start to build up and people start snapping at each other more and more as these kind of phantom voices spill out around them.
I think it's become a fad among teenagers to sneak into groves like these and climb up and press their lips against one of the sacrifices' open mouths. Because in that moment you feel like hyper connected, like fully plugged in, just the vastness of the world available to you, like right at your fingertips, or like the tip of your tongue, as the case may be.
I think this is quite similar to David's, so maybe it's building on it if David doesn't mind that um, just in the natural landscape on tree trunks or buried amongst rocks, if you look very carefully, you might see that horrible, warty little sets of lips have formed, and they just ceaselessly twitch and babble, um, echoing the words of the people who were using these communications cables. So just these horrible little mouths whispering, "No, you hang up. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. Take me off your mailing list, please. Norman, I'm using the computer." Just going on and on for all of time.
Wow, what a nightmare. Well, amidst all of that, um, how do you want to go about feeling better about yourselves and clearing some conditions here? Oh, also as a reminder, the Pox Monk, you can't clear conditions the normal way, but if you want to find an opportunity to help someone in the community, or if you want to do your personal ritual and clear a condition that way, you can narrate that too, or to find a clue as well.
Yeah. I might just to check, Gabriel, when I can transfer a physical condition from a custodian to myself, does that count as putting myself in harm's way, or is that considered as something separate?
I have not thought about it. I mean, I guess it could be, but it's
Mechanically shouldn't be a
mechanically
yeah.
it's different. Yeah, you don't get the
Cool.
benefit of the journey phase, but I suppose if like we could narrate if you're making a stop and you're like taking the time to heal up and transfer condition, that would make sense. It just I
Uh,
guess the idea is that it's more complicated for you. But
Makes
we're here
sense.
to make the story interesting, so I'm not worried too much.
No, you know what? I might, yeah, maybe I'm not going to visit my brother in his storage container, but maybe I've got some files from my last meeting with him, and I'm just going to flick through those as my personal ritual to try and find a clue.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, be thinking about that. Anyone else?
I think I am down to do a journey scene with literally whoever. I am so full of conditions all the time. But I think as we're driving down this highway that is just absolutely riddled with sayings of the wire-bitten child, Zeph is like admiring them, and I believe Bastion, you might notice that this is very similar to what he did when we first saw them. Like this is like somebody just built a really nice new building, or like the way that these people want you to react, like, oh, they finally got internet out here. Like he's reacting in the way that the governments would like people to genuinely react, but it's probably a little appalling to everyone else in the car.
Yeah. I think maybe kind of um, at this point, yeah, Bastion kind of pulls himself into the passenger seat of the van and kind of like does that thing of like following Zeph's gaze, like sort of trying, that sort of thing, like trying to see what they're seeing. Um, and um, I think at one point he just kind of like cocks his head to one side and say, they always say, don't they, that a god must feed. But why should it be us that feeds them? Surely they could do that on their own.
What would they eat if they didn't eat us?
It always seems like such a when I was growing up in the village, we had all of these festivals and days of veneration and observances. And there'd always be feasting and bloodletting and sacrifice. And we were always told that we had to do it to keep the various gods of the fields and their weather happy with us. But all that ever happened was that things stayed the same. They never got better. Sometimes things got worse. We have bad years, and obviously that meant that next year we'd have to sacrifice more. But it just kept on and on and on, and nothing ever really changed. And I don't know, sometimes I'm almost nostalgic for those days when everything just seemed so easy. But sometimes I just wonder what the point of all of it is. But I can see that you see something there. And I wish I knew what that was like.
You could always find out.
I suppose.
I mean, look at them. They've given themselves fully to their god. Isn't that what everyone wants? Just a little bit. You don't have to make choices then. You don't have to do anything. What you're doing, your existence, is feeding them, and you get to stop thinking. And you can just exist as a cog in this beautiful machine instead of an individual that's trapped in its gears.
I suppose you're right. There isn't that much difference. At the end of the day, when I go on to become one with my goddess, it will be much the same. I just won't necessarily know when it's coming. I suppose that surprise element just adds a little, frisson to the whole thing.
I thought that was your whole thing, knowing when it was coming. Do you not get told?
There are hints, signs, but we don't get told at the outset. It's not like part of the induction.
Do you get told other people's? And he looks around the whole van at this ragtag group.
And Bastion's just going to smile and say, none of you have to worry for at least a little bit.
Keeping us on our toes. I like it. It does make things more interesting.
So for that journey move, what conditions are you all wanting to clear? And then you get to stumble on a clue. Maybe we'll have you think about the clue while we cut to the other characters.
I'm going to clear the lost condition, I think, from that one.
I think I'm going to clear outsider from that one. That feels right.
Yeah, those make a lot of sense. What about Merriweather? The doctor seems a little bit off. I mean, you can always interrupt and talk to him, but he's been reading notes.
Yeah, I think I can do maybe the solo journey move option.
Or you could pick up with one of the other characters too, like it's freeform, right? Whatever you want to do.
Oh yeah, feel free to bother us, any of us.
I also have a verse to narrate, so I think I'll do that and somehow loop it into something. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think like in the present right now, we're seeing Merriweather's still like she's got, two pens in either hand and she's like jamming on the dashboard in front of her, kind of in her own little world, the same way the doctor is. And she's, singing along with the music. And we flash back to her as a teenager, um, at some like underground show in a warehouse in Nash, and she's like clearly too young to be there, and she's just like rolling along with this mosh pit, her eyes like sort of looking skyward in ecstasy, and she's just screaming out the lyrics. Um, and we see like this massive bodies, we hear the chords peeling out, um, the guitars and the crowd singing in tandem, and everyone is plugged in and synchronized. It's like absolutely electric. And as the bass rumbles, it's like Merriweather experiences it as a message from a strange god that's like etching the lyrics of the song into her bones and rattling her skull. And she like feels very deeply, like indelibly, that this is the pinnacle. Like it does not get any better than this. And we sort of cut abruptly to after the show. She's kind of mingling outside. She's like drenched in sweat. It's raining. And she like bums her very first cigarette that night and embarrasses herself by not being able to light it because it's too moist. Um, but she finally does, and smoke kind of warms her up from the inside. And with that spark and with like the sort of thawing she feels, comes this terrifying premonition. That was the pinnacle. It will never get any better than that. And when we cut to the present again, we see Merriweather's face begin to fall as she like seems to sink deeply into her thoughts. And she feels the sort of electricity pouring out of her, and she's like silently turns the music down. And unless anyone else talks to her, I think she's quiet for the rest of the ride.
Wow. And so is there a condition that you want to clear with that?
Yeah, I feel like that's maybe close enough to my reciting poetry personal
Oh,
ritual.
sure.
This is her singing the song.
Mhm.
Um, so I think, yeah, I'll clear Distortion's Prince. That seems to make sense.
Yeah. And then you stumble on a clue as well. Be thinking about that. John, is there anything you want to narrate for the doctor with his notes and his solo move there? I like all these
Yeah.
scenes happening in this van. It's a lot going on.
I think Dr. Quick's been thinking a lot about circuses because he remembers back when he was a consultant at the hospital, there was for a little while on the fifth floor of the hospital a bit of an urban legend. Because the hospital, like so many others, it had a clown on the ward who would come and visit patients to cheer them up, to amuse them. No one asked for the clown, no one hired him, but he just seemed to show up and wander into wards, find a sick patient, and blow up balloons for them, make fun balloon animals, honk his nose, draw handkerchiefs out of his sleeve, do all the standard clown stuff. And whenever anyone was asked to describe the clown, they would just speak in the usual stock phrases. It's a clown. You know what a clown looks like. He's got a big red nose, a big grin, white face paint, a clown. And no one could ever seem to quite go further than that. And at the end of his act, the clown would, with a flourish, if you applauded him and cheered him on, just take out of his sleeve an egg. And of course, we all know the story that clowns copyright their faces by painting them on eggs. But this egg would be a very intricate, beautiful little painting of your own face, wide-eyed and smiling. And he'd, with a bow, hand it to you. And if you took the egg from him, something very horrible would happen, because almost at once you would feel the skin of your face just stretching, your eyes, nostrils, mouth peeling away as your face became completely smooth and featureless. And your muffled screams as you suffocated to death beneath your new blank face would be the last thing you ever experienced. And Dr. Quick always thought it was a bit of a silly story. You know, people get easily spooked. Hospitals are big old buildings. Lots of these little legends go around. But he does recall hearing about a neurosurgeon who was cornered by the ward clown, got to the end of the show and just abruptly knocked the egg out of the clown's hand. And then immediately, as the egg hit the floor, just guts, blood, and all just spurted everywhere like a broken egg across the ward floor. So it's been quite a few decades since the ward clown was seen, but he is definitely just starting to think maybe the circus may not be such a safe place for Lucas as he originally thought. So in clue form, I'm just going with clown that steals people's faces.
Wow. Incredible. Links have been shared in the chat about these clown faces on eggs, and they're somehow worse than I imagined they would be. So well done. So just to be clear, is that a clue for the clinic? Okay. Awesome.
It could be either, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. some tie between assignments already. Yeah, you can think about it, whatever makes the most sense. Any other clues that you want to mention? Yeah, I guess.
Did you have one, David? I didn't have one in particular.
I was just going to go with fairly simple and just say that we find a poster for the circus saying, you know, next show at, you know, such and such a location. Oh, obviously it's dated for a couple of days ago, but it might be for might give us a clue to its location.
Kind of triangulate it.
Yeah. I think it's been pasted up, probably kind of half over the face of one of these people on the side of a pole.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that works, because that can't in itself answer the question, but that can definitely like point you in the right direction. And then Elle, did you have a clue for something as well?
Yes, I think so. I think that just as Merriweather was turning down the radio, like the song had ended and she caught like the very beginning of like an ad. And I know they don't do this in England, but in America we have pharmaceutical ads where, you know, medications are advertised. And there's a new medicine coming onto the market, derived from laminar, that is being advertised.
Nice. Which assignment are you thinking?
Probably goes for the clinic. Yeah.
The clinic. Yeah, cool. Yeah, if you could all paste those into the assignments when you get a chance. Includes. Okay. Or yeah. I appreciate how much worse we're already setting up the circus to be, and you're doing all the work for me. So amazing. The ward clown is going with the circus because maybe that's where he keeps his collection of faces. That's what clowns do, as we all know. So with you will pick up with something wonderful. Eventually you get to this farm, and this is still part of the intro. I kind of half read you the intro before, but it's this farmer named Ackerman. Let me look at his description for a second. Bulrush Rush Ackerman is the name. He's got thinning hair, which is like the fluffy down on a baby duck. He has these thick glasses, magnifying, squinting eyes. And as he's talking to you, he kind of has this flat, unaffected voice, and he kind of goes about caring for his tools. He's honing this knife on a leather strap. He's like greasing equipment. He's just checking things, and kind of goes on a little bit about the usual, like, no one wants to work anymore. Younger ones, they forget why they're here, why we're born, to work. It's our lot in life. And he tells you that his child Joy had run away, and he goes on a tangent about how everyone else had to pick up the slack for a few days, work on the farm. It's hard. Everyone has to do their part. But they eventually found Joy tangled in this briar, wearing a torn singlet, like a circus costume. Their hands were bleeding. And when they dragged Joy home, they were crying about how they couldn't be late for the show and that they had to fly. And Ackerman tells you again, kids these days, heads full of fanciful tales. They were talking about performing in some circus, but I think it was just an excuse to get away from their duties. However, the rumor here is the issue is that this circus is calling people, is drawing people away, and something about that is dangerous, is a problem here. Is to paint the scene for everyone, just in the background of this conversation. What is Ackerman built on his property to prevent, hoping to prevent Joy from returning to the circus?
Everyone can feel free to buck me on this because I can't decide if this dude's nice or not. But I think it is like you've seen like a makeshift tightrope that like is for kids. I think he's strung up one for Joy to like do this thing that they've been talking about. Like maybe that'll get it out of their system. Like between these two trees, like by the barn. Like it's not very good, but it's an attempt to keep them there.
Nice.
Also around this back part of the fields, there's this sort of old wooden fence surrounding it, and horseshoes have been nailed up, sort of spaced out along the bars of the fence.
I'm imagining it's not so much to keep Joy from leaving, but more to keep anything from coming back after her. So he has set up almost kind of like clown traps around his garden. Just, I don't know, like a beautiful kind of colored rug that a clown is going to run along and then fall through a massive hole. Setups for slapstick and spoofery, basically. I know I'm obsessed, Gabriel. I'm sorry.
No, I mean,
This is so good.
I will say out of character here, this again, this is a notorious assignment. I got to play test it for the first time, and there's a location that has to do with clowns, and I've just had a lot of fun foreshadowing it to people. And so yes, it's absolutely about clowns. And it's written by Michael Van Vliet, and just it's going to be the perfect like grotesque humor. So clown traps. Sorry, go ahead, Elle.
No, I'm still processing the clown traps, but I also think he set up like a bouncy castle out there, and it's like this like humongous like rainbow colored thing with like I think there is like a blow up clown face like right above the entrance, and it's an effort to sort of feel like, Joy, we have the circus at home, like you don't need to go anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
A sad attempt maybe, but he tried.
Wow, this is really interesting. you all have like painted him very differently already, and it's really cool. Like it's already it will become clear more like how that's building on this theme. But I like how he's not just tried to keep Joy here, but we have the circus at home. You don't need to leave. So, your first question, this is a special question. It's just, where is the circus currently located? Complexity 4. And then from there, you'll choose basically if there's a way to counteract the effects of the circus, or if the circus itself needs to be destroyed. And you also have a verse available. I keep forgetting to introduce these, but the verse of the prodigal path is available for this assignment. Each custodian tells of a time when they considered abandoning their responsibilities and taking to the open road instead. And there's also a verse for the clinic that's available if you need some extra verses. Just also to tie into locations, you're at the farm. It's there's not a formal location here. It's kind of what you've described, but you did see along the way there was a roadside diner, which is another location you could check out. I think I'll just say that you may have seen some just look like extra visitors or tourists, maybe people that look like they could be looking for a circus, or maybe just busier than normal. So that's a lead you could follow up. But you're at the farm, of course, you can talk to John some more. You can poke around and go from there. What's your next move? And also, again, until you tell me otherwise, Lucas is with you, so just keep that in mind.
I know we're notoriously great with kids. Can we talk to Joy?
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like the dad knows anything, really, other than how to make clown traps, which seems maybe useful. I think Zeph kind of got distracted by those and was like kind of like mentally taking notes, like he's Fred from Scooby-Doo. Like, what is this? We might need this later.
Yeah. I think Mr. Ackerman here is like, of course, now don't go filling their head with any other ideas. Of course, I have, Joy's a good kid, and I want them to be happy, and of course, we need them to help on the farm. So I've let them take breaks to practice their circus act, and that's what they're doing right now in the back. But don't keep them too long. There's work that needs doing around here. And he goes somber again. It says, I better get back to it, and we'll stroll off. You see Joy is practicing on that. Did you say it was like a slack line or a
yeah, like a little like a slack line for like
yeah.
practicing a tightrope act.
Yeah. You see her fiercely concentrating, wobbling, and then just like flopping in the dirt. And sighs, gets back up, looks up at you. Oh, well, I got across before. I'm practicing. It's no big deal, really.
That was fabulous. I couldn't do that. No, very good job. That's very excellent. Has anyone followed me, by the way, or am I just talking to this kid on my? Did you just
yeah?
let me
Where's
do
everyone
this?
going? Yeah. Maybe we get that sense of where everyone is real quick.
I think Bastion is actually going to follow Rush and ask if he needs a hand with anything.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Sounds good.
I mean, I think Lucas has gone to the bouncy castle, so Dr. Quick is probably supervising him, but maybe within eyesight of Zeph. So if we need to bring Lucas in to get advantage to try and like get something out of Joy as a fellow kid, maybe we can do that. But
Nice.
leaving it over to you for now.
Okay.
Just bouncing.
Yeah.
I think Merriweather might like make the excuse of needing to like visit the little girl's room or whatever. And she'll go inside and snoop around Joy's room, I think.
Oh, nice.
To see if she brought anything back from the circus.
Oh, that's fun. Love that.
Oh my god. That's not how people die in slashers at all.
I mean, get
We've
caught
all
in your own
split up.
clown trap, I guess. We've not established it, so maybe I'll just pitch it to David. What kind of farm do you think this is? He will certainly kind of look at you and look, oh, you seem some extra help would certainly be appreciated. It would, and he has this like fluctuation between you see trying to indulge his child, but also just for some reason being very like serious and morose and just like we all have a duty, and I suppose I'm losing time with this investigation, and I would appreciate the help certainly, and we'll invite you along. But what kind of farm? What do you think he's growing or working on?
I think it is just a grain farm, rows
yeah.
and rows and rows of grain, just,
Yeah. Maybe it's some piece of equipment that's I don't know, farm equipment. Maybe it's what is it that you like a hoe or something that's like been kind of stuck. Maybe he's trying to like dig something.
Yeah, like a plow, yeah.
A plow, yeah. And yeah, we can have that scene first. We'll come back to the others if you want. You're helping him. Is this you want to make an information move here, or do you want to trigger something else?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just going to double check one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to go for it's obvious that Bastion kind of knows what he's doing. He knows his way around the equipment and stuff. And I think he is sort of working quite diligently and hardly with Rush. But I think he's like preternaturally quiet whilst he's working, and just in that way that the longer they spend together and the quieter it gets. Kind of Rushes almost, even for a man who seems fairly taciturn himself, kind of feels compelled to like start making conversation.
Oh, well, is this your hollow gaze?
Yes, that is correct. Yep.
Nice. Remind me, does that give you advantage, or do they just kind of?
Gives me advantage? Yeah, when acting to throw someone off guard, which I think is kind of what I'm going for here in the conversationally off guard sense.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, sounds like presence or vitality, because you're doing this physical labor. Your choice.
Yeah, I think it will be presence here, because I think it's more his whole
Yeah.
thing that's kind of pulling the weight here.
Sounds good.
That is an 11.
Great. Okay. We'll come back to that. We'll have a clue for you. Let's see. Lucas, is bouncing. He's I don't know, John, what kind of things do you overhear? Lucas has seen quite a lot in the span of time with you all. Are there, just for fun, are there any maybe an actual parent or someone who knew him might be disturbed by or amused by, like, what do we hear him playing at by himself or speaking about?
I mean, I think probably the most recent adventure, right? So Dr. Quick, his mind on evil, monstrous, cosmic horror clowns is not paying enough attention as he should to Lucas, who's like, so then these three guys, they stood next to the van and they talked about how great it was when they got those punks up on the stage, and then they started just stabbing them as sacrifices to old Notty, and then they started yelling, and Bastion came with the machete, and then it sounded like they were like getting torn apart by the big tornado. Big tornado was very cool. I really like that bit. He's just like, yeah, he has seen far more than he should have of the violence of Distortion sprints.
Yeah. Amazing. Do you want to, and that's fine. I'm glad to have that scene. While you are spending time there, do you want to be looking for any other sort of information or doing anything else? Or do you want us to come back to you?
I think, yeah, maybe if I'm scanning over the landscape, I could get a sense. I'm trying to look for, is there a route that Joy could have taken, leaving the house where she might have seen the circus in the distance, maybe some lights or something, and headed that way? It's just like scanning the horizon for.
Clown sport in the chat.
What? Well, yeah.
Yeah, why roll? Just say that's what it is. Yeah, but make an information move with
Okay.
probably insight.
Cool. 4 and a 2, so 6. But thankfully, I know I don't think I'm going to have a. My insight is 2, so 8.
Okay, so 8. All right, we'll come back to that. So clue with a complication. Let's just get the roll for Merriweather looking in the room, and then we'll come back to Zeph's scene, which we'd already kind of started with Joy, which is really great. Merriweather, let's see. I'm just going to improvise the paint the scene question here. It's a small, it's relatively modest farmhouse, but and Joy's room is also pretty small. Maybe it was like a guest room, very modest. But how can you tell with like how this child has improvised or decorated it that this is a very, that Joy has been dreaming of travel or of other worlds? How can you tell that this is a very imaginative child? Obsessive even.
I think the first thing that Merriweather sees is like a full wall of pictures that Joy has drawn and like put up for decoration. Many of these depict what Merriweather finds to be a very off-putting smiling clown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not surprising. I mean, we're already kind of like hinting at clues left and right, but let's do an information move just to see how that goes. Maybe composure, since you're kind of like snooping around.
Yeah.
Sorry, not composure. What is it? Focus.
Oh, yeah. Sounds good. Ooh. All right, it's an 11 on the dice, and my focus is 1, so that's 12.
Okay, nice. Some special kind of bonus there of all of this. Great. We'll come back to that as well. And then Zeph, you are speaking with Joy. I kind of get up and you notice that there's like they're like carrying a coil of rope, almost like they're as if they were a trapeze artist. They've just like picked up some rope that was lying around and they're like trying to play the part. And they're like, I'm just practicing. I've done better before, but watch, I'll try it again. Like this time, I think I'm gonna get it, and like they get up to try it again.
And he is just wrapped, like he is like absolutely like yes, get it. He almost forgot he came here to like grill this kid, and he just wants to see if they can do the tightrope. Now he's a little invested. He's like, are they good at it?
I think they get a little further, and again, you almost see that like they are concentrating, but it's almost this weird whimsical, just like instead of like focusing, they're acting as if like they're light, as if they could just run across this. They're a little too overconfident, and then just that they kind of go a little too fast and they get further, but they still fall. Like, I don't know. Are you here to work with my dad? Yeah, kind of looks at you questioningly.
Oh, no, I'm actually here to talk to you about the circus you visited. I'm curious. I heard from your dad that that you were a part of it at some point, but he doesn't seem to know very much about it. And well, my colleagues and I were very interested in it, but we can't seem to find it. So I thought I'd come talk to the expert.
Kind of like straightens up a little bit. That it's like he doesn't even think it's real. But I mean, he's barely ever traveled from this place, he just grows wheat. I spent most of my life here, just in the dirt. We're just turning over soil. We're hoping these crops will grow better, and it's the same seasons over and over again. But I know things now. He doesn't understand. I was in that circus. I was in that tent. I could fly. I felt light, and I didn't. Your colleagues, you're interested in the circus. Maybe I just need to go back. Do you know where to? And she just kind of, they flip the question on you, just like a little bit of this like desperate pleading in the eyes.
Well, no, that's the problem is we don't know where it is. I don't even know how to find it. I've seen flyers, but we never can seem to really get a hold on it. How did you find it if you've never really left here? Did it show up in your field, or that's like he's a little concerned it can just do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Let's do an information move there with presence.
Right. Need to stop using that or put points in it. Because I think it's a 0 presence. Yeah. All right. We'll see what
It's
happens.
not negative. Yeah.
I agree. We should recruit Joy as well. Oh, that's an 11.
Wow. Okay. Give me 1 second. I have to let a cat out of my room. She was sleeping at my feet, and now she's like, I need to get out of here. So
Right
1 second,
now.
and then we'll get some clues together. Hold on a second.
I love the idea that we can adopt Joy because she's got a dad, but he's a bit taciturn. You know, he's not
Like,
very emotionally available. We can just take her, right?
She's just like, just can sort of join our squad, right? We're like Batman. That we just like sort of are adopting children left and right.
It seems to be a trope. I keep repeating it. I don't know. It's just fun to have that childlike wonder. Maybe we just need that with all the other horror.
Exactly.
All right, so we have a bunch of successes here. Let's go back. Okay, Bastion first with was that an 11 or 12?
It was an 11 as well.
11.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. Let's see. I think going with that theme of silence, he actually doesn't even, I mean, I know, I like you were saying how he is compelled to say something, but it's almost a non-thing. He just sort of says at some point, like, well, these fields got a little flattened, but they're springing back up anyway. And just vague comments about the weather. But it's not his comment that stands out to you. It's that you actually see, I think on the edge of this field, there's like some woods in the distance. And you kind of see what at first looked like maybe some loggers or some trees are being cut down. But you kind of see there's actually this fresh, it looks like a fresh path going into the woods. And you see that one of the trees isn't just fallen, but it almost looks partially crushed into the ground. And the reason you kind of notice this is that there's indentations, there's places where the wheat has kind of been crushed down somehow. Nothing quite like it's not like a crop circle or anything, but it just seems like there's impressions in the earth, and you see it going all the way out to the woods. So that's your clue. And again, back into the silence. Seems to very much appreciate. You get the sense of appreciating this silent, honest work. That just seems to be his whole vibe. And I think at some point, if you want to, you know, he'll probably invite you back to the farm, probably has some meal to share. You're able to kind of loosen this plow or whatever. And yeah, with that 11, yeah, I think he's just very much appreciative of your help.
Sure thing. Thank you.
Let's see, who did I have next? Oh, Dr. Quick, right? What did you roll? Was that someone rolled a 12?
No, I just got an 8.
Oh, that's right. Oh, fun. Okay, you had the complication. Okay. I know what your complication is. I need a second for the clue. Yeah, I think you find partially let's see, it's kind of in the dirt, or no, maybe it comes out of the bounce house because Lucas is bouncing up and down, and occasionally there's like a puff of air from this thing. Maybe it's slowly leaking, so it's getting a little saggy. Um, but you see at some point there is something's kind of flapping on the side, stuck to the side of this thing, and it is a scrap of striped canvas. Its ragged edges are, first looks like they're just dirty, but you realize they are scabbed with dried blood. I'm not sure how that got to be here. And the complication is, I think you pick up on this because you're kind of like listening, you're kind of, your mind is elsewhere, you're scanning the horizon a little bit. We see a group of, it looks like other farmers, kind of strolling up, maybe from a nearby farm or from down the road. And they're wearing simple clothes, just overalls, head kerchiefs. They have these kind of very somber, deeply lined faces. They kind of start to walk up to you, and they look like they've never laughed, ever. You notice they're carrying, weirdly, looks like some of them are carrying bags of soil, some farming tools, and one of them is carrying a pot of glue and a large paintbrush, and just walks up to you and just said, they're all just glaring at this bounce house. They're looking at these other things that the Ackerman has set up, and just say like, oh, all fun and games, is it? Thought we would set up our own circus. This isn't even in your farm, is it? You just thought you'd come in and take honest folks away from their work. And I think they all the other ones chime in near you. They start to kind of like make a ring around you, and the other one says, there's some that struggle to remember where they're from. We don't. We know. The soil feeds us. The soil needs us. And those who can't remember that simple fact, it's our duty to remind them. And the one with the pot of glue is just going to start to like slap glue onto you, as this other one takes this bag of soil and just like throws it over you so it will stick to you. Unless you want to mark a verse to intervene, the doctor is going to become marked by the Soil and Silence Committee. I don't know. What do you think about that, John?
I mean, I hate these guys. I'm just literally watching my kid on a bouncy castle.
Yeah.
And you're throwing glue and dirt on me.
Yeah.
I'm not really like I didn't want to have this conversation with you, and I'm certainly not prepared for it to escalate like this. I'm going to run with it and see where it goes.
Okay.
But I think, spluttering incoherently, Dr. Quick's going to go, you can't just do this. You can't behave like this. This is not your property. You can't just turn up and start throwing dirt at someone. You know, the leader. Why are you acting like such a complete arse, if you don't mind me saying so?
I think as you're telling them this, the one with the soil just like gets the last bit of soil and just full on dumps it on your head, and they just turn their backs on you and start to stalk off towards the farm, occasionally slapping glue on other fun looking things and putting dirt on them. And they don't even bother to give you a fair response.
Zeph, did you see this?
I think, and like I've been like talking to Joy, and I look, what happened to you?
I don't know. They were like, "Oh, we're the dirt and glue cult. We're going to the mystical dirt and glue must go on you." I don't even know what they were talking about.
You're not even.
I'm just standing here.
You didn't even do. And I look to Joy and I'm like, is this your people's thing? Is this what your dad does? Is he a dirt and glue man?
Joy kind of sighs. It's kind of what everyone's like around here. There's certainly
Oh,
dirt people. The glue, I don't know. I don't know what
seems
that's about.
unnecessary.
Yeah. You see Joy kind of droop here. And actually, since we're in the scene with you, could you remind me, you made a roll too, right?
Yes, an 11. I was asking
Okay.
Joy where, like, how they found the circus, because I sure as hell don't know where it is.
Yeah. Let me come back to that clue. I'm not quite sure there yet. Actually, no, I will say that they're I'm gonna adapt it clear. I think they are holding that coil of rope, and they kind of like quietly they look to make sure those dour people are walking the other way, and they kind of uncoil the rope, and they just say like, it was the weirdest thing. This rope, it well, I'm practicing so I can balance. If I can walk across it, I think I could get back. And they tell you that this out of nowhere there was a tightrope just like over the ground. And I was walking, and then I was balancing perfectly. I was focusing so well. I didn't fall, and I don't really know how, but when I looked up, I saw the lights and the tent, and I just kept going. But now, and they kind of hold this like coil rope, like I don't know how to make it work again. I don't know how to get back. Can you help me get back? You should see it. You would love it. It's the most wonderful thing ever. Nothing like this place.
I mean, I'm not sure what that place is like, and I look over to Dr. Quick. I can't exactly blame you for wanting different company. I'll, if we find it, I'll see if I can get word back to you about what's going on with this. Either way, I think you should keep practicing. This is not, and I kind of lower my voice. I'm like, this is not it. There are other things you can do. It's fine. So we're doing it. None of us are from, like, we didn't stay in our hometown. You can get a different job. You don't have to be the dirt and glue people.
Yeah, Joy will definitely probably have more child questions about like, what do you do, but we'll come back to that.
We're recruiting for the custodians all
Yeah.
the time.
You're the best outreach ever. Kind of changing that clue. Okay. Sorry to leave you hanging. Elle, Merriweather is poking around this room, and you got a 12. And let's see. I think the clue is I like how you're describing. Were you describing a drawing of a clown?
Several,
Or
yeah.
drawing? Yeah, nice. Oh yeah, okay. I'm just gonna paste this clue is one of the drawings. A child's drawing of themselves next to a striped tent with a face and open mouth. The tent having like the face. With a 12, as you're looking at it, I think something shifts somehow. Like maybe it was stuck to it, maybe it was behind it, but all of a sudden a ticket falls out of this tent drawing. You're not really sure, but this ticket falls into your hands. You can add it to your altar, and I'm gonna give me a second to find. I have more of a description about this ticket, but that's your bonus. Is you get a ticket.
A ticket to the circus, presumably.
Yeah, sir. I just trying to find this what it is called or what it would say about it. Find that shortly. Yeah, I'll come back to that. Just a ticket for now. Ticket to the circus. I think at that point you probably hear some of the commotion from outside. I think you hear we'll say that John, his Mr. Ackerman Rush, has returned and is talking to the Soil and Silence folks. Bastion, you see him getting into a bit of an argument, and it seems all of you kind of get the vibe that they're very critical of the fact that he has set up these like circus-like things for his child. And I think they're even starting to like, yeah, it seems like there's the confrontations kind of simmering here. So we can have you all join the scene however you want to, or wherever you want to go from here.
I mean, I do think at some point we will end up back. I mean, at the very least, Zeph is going to kind of get nosy and just and kind of tell Joy to be like, "You, thank you so much," and you just and does the same thing he would do to Lucas, which is like he's gotten used to dadding, where he's like, "You stay there," as if he has any right to tell this child where to go on their own farm, because he thinks it's like an unsafe confrontation. Clearly, these people are wild. He's not even sure if they're violent because they threw glue and dirt on one of his colleagues. And he's kind of like, the fuck is their problem? So he's gonna like kind of like waltz up a little bit so he can eavesdrop at the very least. I don't know what the rest of y'all are doing.
Yeah. I think when Bastion sees these people arriving and start getting up in Rush's face, he is going to kind of like approach, but do that thing of just kind of standing behind Rush for the minute, just kind of staring at them over his shoulder, staring at them over his shoulder, and just kind of waiting for them to either just stop what they're doing or acknowledge him.
I think Dr. Quick, despite the fact that he's got glue and dirt on his face and the perpetrators are just over there, he can probably see that Joy might be getting a bit upset at this confrontation. So I think he's just going to kneel down to them and say, so as you can probably see, I'm a bit of a clown myself. The last time I was at a circus, I picked up this. And he's going to take out the bangle, which he has. And so this is one of his items. It was a reward, I believe, from one of the last assignments. It's a bark concert wristband bangle. So it's a bit festivally. And he's just going to kind of give it to Joy and say, so the next time you're at a circus, just you show this to the other clowns and then they'll know that you're one of them and give you some clown tips, okay? So he's trying to distract them. And this is obviously, it's very nice and selfless, but it also means he gets to clearer conditions. That's
nice. You gonna clear that Soil and Silence committee?
No, I've got a vendetta against them now. I am gonna see them get eaten by a clown if it kills me, so I'm gonna get rid of an earlier one.
Sounds good. Which one are you clearing?
Quack treatment.
Oh, okay, yeah, sounds good. No, Joy is delighted by that, kind of puts it on proudly, kind of straightens the like coil of rope, seems to be just like as much as possible always as if they're like ready to go and perform the circus, and like probably asks you a couple of questions about like or actually even says like, yeah, I see it now. I see how you could be a clown. Maybe if you just kind of like gives you advice for how to like scrape off key parts of the dirt and glue to make like dirt clown makeup. Because maybe if you find the circus too, you could be a garden clown. You could be a soil clown. I don't know. Is that a thing? Yeah, go ahead, Elle.
I think Merriweather, hears the commotion and like pops her head out of the screen door of the farmhouse, and I think she'll go over and do much the same as what Bastion is doing, kind of standing behind Rush with her arms crossed over her chest, but she's being a little bit more aggressive about it. She's like, "Sorry, is there a problem here? Who are these people?"
The group just kind of falls silent and glares at the two of you, and just then kind of like look very pointedly at Rush here and just says, remember your duties, remember our purpose here. We're not here for such frivolous activities. You used to be one of us. And they kind of like, I think they're out of a bag of soil. So it's kind of that awkward moment where they're just like, I think they'll like throw a couple clods of dirt at this farmer here and then turn their backs and then continue to stalk off.
What is their damage? I think you hear Zeph say that out loud as they walk, and you realize he was on the other side of this like little circle, not defending Rush, but like just what the fuck?
Yeah, and again, none of them smile, look like they've ever smiled. And Rush Ackerman here just says like, well, you can see why the circus is a problem for our community. You see him trying to kind of gather his thoughts, or he's like, I suppose it's our way of life. We have our customs, and mostly it works for us. But Joy has always been an imaginative child, and I was just trying to, they're right. I should take it down. And he's like, it's like, yeah, this is only going to become more of a problem. I would appreciate any help you can offer with, maybe you can help the circus move on.
Wait,
yeah.
Hold on. What did they mean by you were once one of them?
Well, what has got us through hard. He kind of like gestures at the farm, the fields, and you can see how there's places where the wheat's growing a little bit better. You also see there's a lot of like, it looks just like kind of fallow soil, and there's gardens where there's like there's some vegetables. There's maybe enough to sustain them, but it's not doing great. You can kind of get the picture that there's like some rusty equipment here and there. And he says, we've had some hard times, and sometimes what's got us through is our focus together, and our commitment to rebuilding, to focusing on what matters. It's gone a little bit too far. Some of my neighbors take their duties too seriously. They've kind of tried to find solace in what they have, and they turn out like that, I suppose. So yeah, he basically says like, he used to be a bit more zealous like those folks, and that seems like the change has come about since his child ran away and has come back, and he's sort of he's brought fun to the farm, and that's what they're mad about.
Well, I don't see why you should listen to them. They glued and feathered not feathered, dirt. I know they did it the wrong way. They should be tarring and feathering, but like they glued and put dirt on a complete stranger. I don't see how that's a way to behave. You're much better than them.
Yeah, with respect, Mr. Ackerman, do you think you're blaming the circus for what your child did, when clearly your community is so straitjacketed and repressed that maybe that's what drove them to run away?
So I can see your point, but perhaps what's not so obvious here, this is just one child. There's been more. There's whole, in some places I heard, a whole farm just up and left their work and went to join the circus. And my neighbor down the road, this is nothing. He's trying to build. He thinks his animals are he's trying to teach them tricks now. Have you ever seen someone try to teach their chickens to dance, to perform tricks?
No, but I would like to.
It sounds very charming. What's the problem?
That
Let's
does sound
talk
kind of great.
duties. Yeah.
Says, well, of of course, as you can see, we have to work. That's the only way we're going to sustain ourselves. And then there's something about this circus. Something is taking a hold of people and convincing them that's all that matters. That it's an obsession. And I'm hoping that this is just a phase for my child here, and that maybe they will find their balance, so to speak. But it's far worse in places. So I've heard. I haven't had time, but that seems to be the concern. And that's, I think, also what you've gotten in your report a little bit from the assignment, is that there's something about the sense of the circus passes through and it lures people away, forgetting their duties, but it seems to be something more intense than that, something of an obsession, to where this idea of the circus and wonder is taking root in some way that seems like it could be a divine influence of some kind. But that's all that he really knows from his perspective.
Maybe they could find a not this circus to join. There's other shows. I mean, our friend here's an actress. It's you can do other things other than whatever this thing is, and whatever those people think they're doing. I'm glad you're letting them find a balance. Don't take that down. That's just letting these dirt people win.
Well, I appreciate any of your efforts, and let me know. Perhaps if you come back this way, if there's any, just please don't fill their head with any other ideas. I don't want to. I still need them here.
Of course. Zeph nods as he completely and literally explicitly did that.
Yep. Feels like a good. Sorry. No, I was going to say we probably take a break here, but please, if there's anything else you want to add to the scene.
I think Dr. Quick just says, "Can I please use your bathroom sink?"
Nice, yeah. Because there's water barrel, rain barrel up back. I can wash some of that off. Sorry.
Quaint and rustic, a water barrel.
Great. Let's take a quick break here and see if we want to. There's other places we can look, or if we want to try to answer a question with these clues. I don't know if we have enough. But yeah, I'll come back in 5. Here. All right, so we've got 6 clues, I believe, for this first question, and if y'all are up for it, we can try to answer a question of where the circus is currently. Elle's got to dip out in a second, so we'll do that with everyone. Any thoughts initially with these clues, or it's okay if not, but I figure you got enough that you could start somewhere.
Elle, would you like to start, since you do have to dip? Give us your clown knowledge.
Oh no. I'm not the clown expert here. We need to be asking John.
John, give us your clown.
I used my 1 clown fact already.
Got a lot of mileage out of that. I mean,
Oh
it's
god, it's doing a lot.
I don't know that I have like a very well developed thought, but something about this last clue, the drawing, a child's drawing of themselves next to a striped tent with a face and open mouth. I feel like Big Herb was described in a similar manner. So I wonder if it would be cool to like tie it back into one of the locations from the Hungering Roots, was it?
Yeah, that was
cool.
all the way back at the Hungering Roots where we found Lucas.
Oh yeah. Oh my god, that's perfect. I mean, we don't have to go in that direction,
like,
but I just got very excited.
I love that. I don't know about anyone else, but I am like so
That's awesome, yeah.
I agree with John in the chat. I love a callback.
Yeah, I'm wondering, because obviously we've got kind of the link to the farm, the farmers here and what they're dealing with, and the fresh wide path through the woods. So it's almost like this this thing just kind of like appears in patches of wilderness, which could be kind of the tie-in to Big Herb and the sort of agribusiness back in town, that this almost kind of like attracts the circus.
Yeah, it's almost like an old harvest god or an old god of like hunger or something that is like attracted to the same thing Big Herb is attracted to.
And maybe the reason the tightrope wasn't working so well is this is not a real tightrope. This is gardener's wire.
Oh,
Interesting. Okay.
I love that. It's all coming together. It's all coming together.
So I'm trying to remember the Big Herb, because we learned about like what that there was like an older temple, right? There was something gosh, I think that place like wanted to be, I really don't remember. I have to go back and look, but there's something about like renewal and like the presence of the land there. So we're thinking that the circus is appearing in places where I don't know, there's already like there's a connection to the land, it sounds like.
Maybe it's like the circus seems to embody a sort of fun and frivolity, right? And maybe it's attracted to these places where, you know, gods of agriculture are so entrenched because the people there tend to be so tied to their work, like their entire lives revolve around the farm.
Yeah.
It's trying to like
Yeah, so maybe the whatever god empowers the circus kind of feeds on that energy, on that, like, you know, sunrise to sundown work thing. It eats away at it and makes you crave fun and popcorn.
because
Yeah,
it's
it's
the
almost
other
like
end of
a
it.
vacuum, right? It's kind of coming in to fill that space.
Yes. Oh my
That's cool.
gosh. And maybe I mean, we could use that to work in the niece skeleton thing, but I also think that could be used for something else. So that's not like fully necessary to use here, because we could also use the scrap of striped canvas. I can talk. And like the fact that it's just sort of there, maybe that's like it's almost like breadcrumbs. You could like follow it to it, little
Yeah.
scraps of the circus left behind through this path. Like maybe it's not always this bloody canvas that is definitely for sure covered in somebody's blood because they got ate, but like maybe it's a clown nose, maybe it's streamers, maybe it's popcorn, like it's stuff that's sort of scattered about that we can follow them, like E.T. following the Reese's Pieces.
Yeah,
whatever the
that
hell he ate.
makes sense.
I think it was
The
Reese's
Gloomy
Pieces.
Trail. I don't remember what it was. Yeah. I know it's kind of a stretch with some of these. The clown, I mean, we have talked a lot about clowns. We could work that in, or we could save that. And also the poster, I mean, you could save it. You could also just the way you set it up from the start, like triangulate and say the poster is pointing to where it was recently. So you could kind of maybe use that to think about like where it's likely to appear next. Currently that's a flat roll with 4 clues.
I like saving those because I think they're really juicy, so I agree with B.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and with these threshold questions, it's either you're right or you're wrong, and it's something else that you're just putting it back on me to make up, and that's fine. We'll see what happens. Who wants to roll it before Elle's gotta go?
I rolled last time. One of you yahoos.
Okay, I'll roll as my
Roll. Yeah,
my
sounds
final
good.
act.
Just leave us with a miss and go.
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Well, you're getting what you wish for because I rolled a 6.
Oh no. Okay.
And with that, goodbye.
Okay. Awesome. We'll catch you next time, Elle.
Bye.
Thank you so much. That's
Oh
awesome.
my god, the drama. I love
Yeah.
it. That really works.
So I think this is maybe we cut forward, and it's because this circus we've heard about the lights, and that's what sort of is luring people. So it's later at night, and you maybe have backtracked, or you're determining, maps are so amorphous in the setting somewhere near the region where the Hungering Roots was being cultivated and where that old temple to Big Herb is. And let's see. Yeah, it's dormant, it's silent. You are not getting a sense of any of the lights there, but I think gosh, you know, I'm gonna steal some of your other clues and just make it weird for a second and leave it a little open-ended. I think as you are actually kind of finding a way back to that temple of where Big Herb is, I think it's maybe a little less obvious. You start to hear you hear the crunch of eggshells underfoot. Maybe it's just compost, but you hear increasingly. Sometimes you hear the sound like a dropped egg that's breaking. And you all glimpse. I think you turn and you actually see one fall, an egg fall from up above, and you realize there is a high wire going between these trees. And you see a faint, kind of in the faint setting sun, strolling in a line slowly. There are a series of tightrope walkers in these absurd clown shoes, kind of hang over, kind of walking almost like birds with webbed feet, you know, like penguins, almost waddling, but not losing their balance somehow. And some of them are juggling. And it's silent. You don't hear the sound of them catching or tossing balls or making any sound at all. They're just like this migration of clowns walking overhead, juggling, and occasionally one of them kind of stops and looks back at the other, and they do some sort of mime, strange gestures towards each other. And when that happens, some of those that were juggling eggs lose the eggs and they fly in the air and fall. And you see them walking further off into the tree line, and in the distance, some strange glowing lights, kind of like slow motion, kind of, it's not a clear Ferris wheel pattern. It's almost like the arc of balls being juggled, but they're kind of soft, slow lights. And it's beautiful and it's mesmerizing almost. And I think I'm going to say that you find yourselves drawn towards those lights. Don't know where you're going, but I think that's where we're going to pick up with you all is wandering towards this circus in the night. I feel like that's a good place to leave it for now. So yeah, that'll leave me a little room to determine where that actually is. It's just not where you thought it was. It's somewhere in the wilderness. But I think the sort of complication or the danger we'll pick up with next time is that little hint of wonder taking root is what's drawing you there. And you, despite yourselves, maybe there's a better way to plan and approach this, but you just find yourself following the lights and the clowns. So yeah, great. We'll end the play early there. We'll go to end of session questions. And I think, and rewards for solving distortion punks. Let me pick up there really quick with distortion punks. There are 3 rewards written on here, and the others are open, so they're where you can ask each other. If what item you find, if you want to do that. So the rewards for distortion punks are a small case of laminar, a looper pedal with false recordings, and a blood-veined branch from Old Naughty. Or if you want to make up something that you find, you can ask another custodian.
I'd like to even ask. I'd like to throw it open to David.
Sure thing. I think. Sorry, I just want to double check something before. Oh, sorry, I'm having issues with Google Sheets at the minute. To- Yeah, no, that's cool. I think that you can have a hypodermic syringe with a broken needle.
I mean, that's what Peyton actually stuck in me, so that's perfect. Thank you.
Exactly, yep. I think Bastion might hang on to a small case of Laminar if no one objects.
That's fabulous. I think Zeph stole a looper pedal to tinker with.
Nice. That's fun. And you know, it has recordings, so you can
Yeah.
play very loosely with however that works, whatever use you come up with for it. Awesome. We'll catch up with Elle on rewards for Merriweather. And so yeah, you can all mark the custodians resolved an assignment. I forgot to prompt you about your end of session questions. So think of, let us know if you feel you've answered whatever you picked there. And then yeah, did you all engage with a god, angel, or other divine manifestation?
The kaiju fight.
Oh, sure. Yeah, right. You were involved in that for sure.
It does feel like that was a completely different session, doesn't it?
So much happened. Yeah. I think between that and whatever you just encountered, we'll count that. There's something weird going. I mean, there's silent clowns on a tightrope walk above you. Yeah.
Thanks. I hate it. It's very good. It's very, very good. I think.
And then maybe going. Oh yeah,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Either way, I was going to go across the character keeper just for convenience. Bastion, I think you did monologue. I remember hearing one.
Sure. That's right. Yep, I did monologue. And I think in the context of that monologue, I was vulnerable with Zeph.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, great scene. Cool. Dr. Quick. What about you?
Debatable. I didn't struggle with my personal faith. I did sort of get vulnerable with Joy, saying I was a bit of a clown with glue on my face.
That was great.
But okay.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, for sure. And then Zeph, you did monologue as well, right? It's
Zeph and Bastion had little monologues at each other.
That. Did you undermine the orders of your superiors or pursue personal interests?
I don't think this time, no.
Fair enough. Aside from
too wrapped up in it.
Children to the bureau.
Listen, we should get raises for that.
It's the next generation of stalwart custodians,
Exactly.
Awesome. And we'll catch up with Merriweather. I will add just for fun stinger scene. I think we see a loading dock. You haven't seen this building yet, but some sort of very drab, almost like brutalist architecture, just concrete slabs, very grim looking, just dirty stained concrete. And a truck pulls up and there's haphazardly someone's in a stretcher and they're just kind of like giggling and laughing and fall off, and these attendants pick them up again. Just very, very carelessly almost, and kind of just roll them in and like, yes, it's fine. Yep. Oh, and the person is giggling about we're off to the circus. You're coming with me too, aren't you? Oh, it's good. You'll love it. It's so wonderful. The lights. And as they wheel them inside this building, the harsh fluorescent lights, this person is just caught up in wonder. It says, oh, they're singing such songs. We're going to fly together, and tries to grab and catch the other attendant's hands. And they're like, yes, we know. And they start filling out paperwork. I'm like, yep, nope, we've got another one here. Yeah, file this under early stages. This has not shown any further symptoms yet. But to be safe, I would, under containment. Very good. and they wheel this person off. Some doors close. And with that, we'll go to any other stars and wishes. I have many, but I will let you all jump in first.
You know, I'm very excitable and willing to just sort of gush about how fabulous everyone is. So I will start. First for Elle, who is not here, but I hope will watch this part of the recording because she's fabulous. And I think I literally put a star in the chat when this happened. The going up and like going and kissing the wire bitten child
gosh.
saints. That was yes, exactly. That was bananas. That was so good.
Yeah.
Like every time there's like a paint the scene, Elle's gonna go off with some like the wildest shit I have ever heard in my life, and it is genius. And I love it. It's like her masks or verses rather. It's like her verses, like just absolutely delicious, just cinematic, bizarre. I love it. I love the entire scene in the car with Lucas driving where she's like, fuck yeah, turn it up. That was really good. That was very, very good. And snooping in a stranger's room in a farm we've never been to. Just no notes, 10 out of 10. We work great together. Look how fast we work when we're all on the same assignment. Look at this focus, this laser focus. Amazing. And just, I love it. Bastion, that was such a fun scene. I love your monologues, David. They are so gorgeous. It feels so natural. Like the Karen Maiden thing is just, you weave it in so subtly, so perfectly to every conversation. Like even just like taking the case of Laminar, that like really works with Bastion and his whole steez. And it's really great going and doing the quiet thing with the quiet guy, and it feels very right that this was your move and the way you did things. It's just all very calm and methodical because you'll end up where you're supposed to be no matter what. Even when you're kind of questioning it, it's always this sort of you'll end up at the place you were always meant to be thing is the underlying current that really, really works for this character. And I love it. It's delicious. Dr. Raymond Quick. I love seeing him work with kids. That little, like, the little scene where you're trying to cheer Joy up, that was so heartwarming. That was so sweet. Like, completely, like, you didn't have to do that. And you did it in such a, like, a lovely, like, gentle way. You can see how Dr. Quick could have had a really good bedside manner before all this happened. Like you can see this sort of like, because he kind of comes off like he's like very brusque because he's a professional, but like in actuality he's a very like gentle, caring person, because I think a lot of poxmartyrs are, because it's why they're doing it. And he's like, my brother was better than me. No, like actually, like he's also a very lovely, caring person under all of this, like this layer of like propriety. And I still have to say the stabbing her in the neck, and then just the Ashley in the neck, and then crawling back to the van, and just that everybody in the van scene that was so fucking good. That was the best. I love it. I'm glad we're all going to the circus together. That's going to be insane. And also clown, the clown traps, John, that I can excuse clown eggs because those are real, but clown traps, that is what? And Gabriel, you took all of that and were like, okay, but what if it was worse? And I really love that also that you let us roll with specifically. It sounds like, I don't know how this was written. I didn't pre-read this. I just kind of knew the premise. And that like you let us accidentally make Rush a different kind of person than it sounds like he was originally written.
Yeah, that was really interesting. Yeah, stars of that too.
Well, thank you. But you let us do it. You weren't like, here are bound. You like, there were kind of boundaries and we went off of it. And you were like, I'm going to make this work for the narrative. And you made it work really, really well. I think you made it into something very compelling with the soil and silence, the glue in the dirt. Just kind of doing that to Dr. Quick was a very funny move. And also
Yeah.
like there's just this, yeah, you've really like ramped up the subtle horror of all of this. It's giving like Pearl the movie like a little
Yeah,
bit, and
yeah.
you're doing a really good job of this juxtaposition, and I'm really interested to see how this
Mhm.
goes completely off the rails.
Starts at that bit for Michael again. He was I forget when we were talking about it, but it's like, yeah, you got it right away. It's like feathered and tarred, but with dirt. Like these are just like the anti-fun people, and it's so funny. um, but I did also, I would add stars to that, how you all surprised me with that. Because he's supposed to be this dour, serious guy, but right away you're like, no, he's trying to like bring these things in to keep his child here by like giving her a circus as a, because it's not what I would have thought, and that immediately gave him so much more dimension and this like conflicted character, and like it was a really cool setup. So echoing that.
Yeah, I obviously huge star to Michael Ford, the Sword and Science Committee, but again, just Gabriel, the way you use them, like B said, you know, there are so many crowds of cultists advancing upon you, but actually just the ignominy of them just throwing some glue, it felt a lot more personal. I feel a lot angry about that than I would have if they'd tried to stab me or do something horrible. You know, just it was so petty. So you've really, I'm going to get them. I'm heavily emotionally engaged with the seeing an end to them. So that was fantastic. Um, David, it wasn't, we didn't even use it, but I have to mention it as a star because I spent about half an hour after you wrote Clown Spore as a potential clue, just thinking, yeah, they would have like rainbow color droppings that they would leave behind the clowns. So they're like a separate species to humans. That's what we're establishing now. They've got their own culture, their own biology. They live in the woods. So that's just, I absolutely love that. Um, B, it's such a it's not even in the game, but I adore your reactions. You are the most like generous, engaged, energetic person to play with because you always give so much in your reactions to some of the wild shit that goes down. So just yeah, I appreciate you and I appreciate your the vibes you bring.
I appreciate y'all giving me cool stuff to react to be perfectly frank. It's delicious. It's like getting a front row seat to the wildest TV show.
Yeah, another, yeah, I mean, every session's great, but yeah, this was like really fun. The starting off with the yeah, the real sort of, yeah, kind of heavy metal album cover confrontation with the gods, and then kind of rolling on from that into, yeah, you know, possibly Kansas, you know, now, and um, was just it was just, yeah, that such a great kind of yeah, you know, um, that's what I'm looking for. Transition between those was fantastic. But yeah, and that everyone's like descriptions of that confrontation with Old Nutty were great. I really really enjoyed all of that. I yeah Zeph, I think that was be a really the conversation with Zeph in the van was great. It was a really fun one to play off against, and just as like I said, a little thing, I just really liked how yeah, sort of Zeph's like you know, eavesdropping on the stuff and it was all it was just a nice little touch for again just that sort of side of like Zeph where you're never quite sure, you know, what they're going to do and how they're gonna engage in this. It was really cool, just a nice little moment. Yeah, I mean to kind of bounce off what you're just saying, John, about like the reaction to the um Soil and Silence people. I really liked how yeah that really did, that reaction to it was did really come off as like genuinely kind of uh genuine annoyance and genuine kind of yeah frustration with these people. And as you say, I think it is you know, both to Gabriel and to Michael, just that kind of in in a world where, yeah, you know, cultists dragging people off into the woods to murder them is just a fairly accepted part of everyday life. To just have them be so kind of petty and, you know, ineffectual, but I also to go into a stare on Gabriel as well. I love the way that you had their move just be to walk off, because it's like, wait, stop. We can't we can't just chase you down and merge you all, because we have literally no reason to do that other than the fact that like I just don't like you. It's just a really fun sort of tension thing to play with. I also really enjoyed seeing Dr. Quick with both Joy and Lucas as ever, and I there was something else I was going for there, but I'm blanking now. But yeah, Gabriel as well. Some really. I feel like we were a lot lower on failures today, but I still think you brought some really interesting stuff into the just the way that you presented the characters and the scenes as they were folding out. It still felt kind of dynamic, even if we were having an unusual spurt of
Streak of successes there.
exactly, yeah. And obviously the failure of, it's like of us maybe not so much finding the circus, but the circus finding us is really cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. And again, obviously from Elle's just some really great moments. Again, I really loved the flashback and the kind of just choosing to kind of walk into trouble, as it were, by poking around in the house. All those little moments were really great. But yeah, that was sorry, a great session all round.
Yeah, and thanks for, I know you mentioned have some sore throat or whatever. Thanks for sticking with us. Stars to every Elle. I mean, all of your verses are a treat. Elle's are always a treat as well, especially in I wrote a Starforge, the phrase etching into her bones. Just the imagery there was amazing. The journey scene, everyone added these moments that just felt like they could be entire other scenes or scenarios. Just, as was already mentioned, the teenagers like climbing up the structure to like kiss the saints was horrifying and strange, and exactly what teenagers would do in this world. And then John's addition of the like lips just muttering, just this weird mashup of like internet like static and chaos, but like getting like embedded in the landscape. It was so weird, and just this surreal horror that we were building this whole session was so much fun. Enjoy that. Really enjoyed the solution to distortion punks as well. It was sometimes it's fun when you get a full success like that. It lets me off the hook, and I can say like, great, you win, let's montage it. Like, let's just tell the story, and we don't have to think too much about complications are fun too, but it's sometimes refreshing to just get to narrate how you tie it up. Starts all of the I feel like with how much I've talked about this assignment to other people, and like there's a location called the Clown Shed, and when I first ran it, I accidentally just read that out loud and kind of continued on, and everyone was like, wait, what the fuck did you just say? But you all have kind of seeded the scenario that way with all these weird clown facts, and big stars to John for no one asked for the clown. The ward clown, again, that should be its whole scenario. Just amazing stuff.
John, I demand you write the ward clown scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. Even it's like a traveling threat, who knows? Its own weird journey scene. I'll add just as a wish that I bumped up the conspiracy to 8 clues now, which means this is the last set of assignments that we introduce, and then the conspiracy confrontation is next. So that'll be fun to kind of get to that like campaign finale there. And I guess stars to all the ways that everyone is tying things together. You already are like making connections between assignments, and I feel like the way the conspiracy is working behind the scenes. It's all starting to feel really cohesive. So that's just super fun for me to have a lot of that work being done from you all and have you build it as well. So I don't just have to do it. And it feels very organic. So it feels like the custodians are starting to pick up on these like conspiracy things, and that's really fun to see. So yeah, any other stars of wishes?
I almost forgot, but you reminded me with the voices, the little mouths.
Mhm.
John, the voices you did for the internet
Yeah.
voices, like startled me. That was so good. Like it was a really good voice, and I really enjoyed it. It was like it painted a really vivid picture and did give me a startle. So I wanted to let you know that that was delightful.
Thank you.
Awesome. Great session. So much fun, y'all. And we will pick it up next time. Bye, everyone.
Cheers. I'll see you now.
Bye.